we're representing, guys. We've got people from all over the world right now. And wherever you are right now, know that we're here together. Like, this is live streamed, unless you're watching this as a video later on. But if you're watching it right now, it's live. I don't know how you're going to know the difference, but keep commenting, and if you're commenting and not getting a response, it's because you're watching a playback video of this, and you're still here with us, but you're time traveling because you're from the future coming back to the past when we are doing this actually right now. So that's all coming up. Ross, thanks for confirming that Nikki is there. I really appreciate that. Jenny Jean, Purple Heart, love it. Love it. Makes me feel so good. Jenny Stark, you know what I mean? It's that Purple Heart beating. Got to be careful not to hit my chest, or you guys end up hearing it in the microphone, which is not great. And Ross, glad to hear that Nikki's there. Yeah. Alexa, you can hear them already, which is fantastico. And what you hear there are actually monk parrots, like parakeets. And they are up in this building that we're going to start looking at in just one second. And when we go into the space, I am going to, it's 12:02 my time right now in New York. So it means it's time for us to get going rather than keeping you guys waiting too long. I don't know how long this tour is going to take, but I'm not going to let it take more than an hour. So just so you can set on that right now in your head, I'm getting an internet connection unstable sign, which means you might be getting some lag right now. I blame Tage, who's just joined us from Canada. Tage, good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for being there. And apologize for, thank you, Shannon. I saw that message come in. And we're gonna kind of like sneak in a little bit right now, because I don't know if I'm really allowed to live stream in here. And thank you, Kristen, for the laggy notice as well. Shirley, Melissa, esto tengo que hacer. Lo siento. Yo no hablo. Solamente pequeño. But what we're looking at right here is the entrance to Greenwood Cemetery. And we are up on the Gowanus Heights, the old Gowanus Heights. And this is the entrance that we would have been able to see, not at the time of the opening of this cemetery, but by the 1860s, this will be here. And it will welcome not just those who are seeking permanent residence in the Greenwood Cemetery, but also those many, many thousands, and actually by thousands, I mean hundreds of thousands, who will come here and visit. Because by the 1850s already, this cemetery has become either number 1 or number 2 on the list of U.S. tourist attractions. The largest tourist attraction being certainly still Niagara Falls, right? But this one being number 2. So you're going to build an entrance to this cemetery, then you need to make sure that, that it's going to be, it's calling in some heavy hitters. And there is no heavier hitter at this time than Richard Upjohn. And Richard Upjohn is known for this Gothic revival style. And in fact, let me see if I can't just pull up a El Pictoro for you guys and show you another building that's by the same gentleman. No, don't zoom in that. I want to zoom in on this building here. And hopefully you guys can now see this other building which is shown up on the side of my picture, and we're kind of comparing it. And if you don't know what that building over on the side of your picture is, what that is none other than Trinity Church. Trinity Church down on Wall Street and Broadway, because it's the same architect. That's right, it's Richard Upjohn. Now, the first Trinity Church was burned down in 1776, a year we will talk about again, because that is the year that the British will take New York out of Washington's hands, starting with a battle where we are now, where we're going to walk the old lines, the old pickets of the American Revolutionary Forces. And then the Trinity Church is seeking some remodeling in the 1840s, and they actually get Richard Upjohn to do the remodeling, and he sees that there's so much damage done to Trinity Church by a recent snowstorm, he actually just recommends that they tear it down and build the new building, which we ended up seeing there. They're kind of cousins, that Trinity Church and this entranceway here. So Trinity destroyed once by fire and once by ice. It's kind of like a Game of Thrones start of a story, but you can definitely see the connection. Now, what you're hearing are those monk parrots, those parakeets. Let's go inside and enter, just like so many other people would have done. 500,000 a year, in fact, entering through this space. And we're in. We've crossed into the cemetery. And as we go through that magic kind of gate, let's turn around and take another look at it, because we've now separated ourselves from urban Brooklyn. We are in the middle of Brooklyn, and we've just crossed onto 478 acres of space here in the middle of Brooklyn, which is this both cemetery and rural park, rural cemetery. An idea that had started in France, the idea of building cemeteries outside of the main city that you would go and travel to, rather than being buried in the churchyard of your church that you had gone to your entire life. Now, in New York, this becomes a popular concept by the 1830s because they were afraid that actually some of the bodies that we were burying in, let's say, Trinity Church's cemetery was affecting the groundwater, that there was this, release that took place, and therefore it was healthier for the city not to bury bodies directly inside any longer. And that's kind of opens up the path for Henry Evelyn Pierpont to then bring his true dream of building this space to fruition. Now, let's look really quickly up here at the top of this main tower, and let's see if you guys can spot what I'm looking at up here. Whoop. Now, there's a lot going on this morning up around this tower. Hi, Diana, and so sorry for not saying hi right away. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you. What you see up there in the tower, give me my finger, where's my finger on this? There it is, there's my finger. All in here, that's where you've got 50 pairs of these monk parrots, these parakeets, who are living up there. And this morning I've seen crows trying to get in there to the nests. I saw a red-tailed hawk sitting on one of those finials, kind of sticking up and like waiting for the monk parrots. And the monk parrots were freaking out. They're flying all over the place from all these other trees and dodging and diving and very, very much defending their territory. Now, that's exactly why the cemetery wants those monk parrots here. Go figure. Because they defend the space. They're very, very, very territorial birds, and they chase off other birds. They're not chasing off the red-tailed hawks, I'll tell you that, but they are chasing off the pigeons. And why is that so important? Because pigeons poop a lot, and pigeon poop has a sort of acid inside of it, which is specifically bad for brownstone and really makes it deteriorate fastly. That acidic pigeon poop breaks down the stone. So we'd rather keep the parrots, have a little parrot poop, than pigeon poop. That for sure. Now, the other thing about this cemetery as we walk by is that it is a tree lover's paradise, as well as a bird lover's paradise, as well as a history lover's paradise, because you also have a level 3 arboretum here. So this is the only level 3 arboretum / cemetery in the United States. I'm going to say maybe in the world. And what you're looking at right now is none other than a English or European horse chestnut tree. And the reason why I wanted to show that to you guys really quick was because it brings back a memory for me growing up as a kid, because my dad would always talk about this game that he'd play as a kid called Conkers. And what you do is the fruit of the horse chestnut tree are these little, these fruits, these nuts, these conkers, and you drill a hole in them. And then after you drill a hole in them, you run a string through them. And that string then allows you to take your conker, and here's a picture from the old days, not my dad, but you get the idea from this 1950s photo from the UK. And what you see are Cub Scouts, young Boy Scouts, and they've got their conkers with their their strings through it, and they're whacking away. And the thing is, whoever's conker breaks, so it gets split by the other one. Well, you've lost. It's kind of like playing marbles with other kids, except someone's going to lose their marbles, and like the marble is destroyed in the process. So that's just like a cool memory for me that I wanted to share with you guys as we get started. And there's no time like the present for us to get started and get moving, because there's a lot for us to see. So we'll talk more about our good friend Richard Upjohn later on, because he was buddies, well, with Henry Evelyn Pierpont. And he actually ends up doing not just Trinity Church, not just this entrance back here, but he also does the Pierpont Memorial Site, their gravestone, which hopefully I'm going to be able to find again and remember how to get there. So that's coming up as we go. So yes, thank you, Jeanette. Good to see you, by the way. Glad you're here. And thanks for the Conquer memory, check mark that yes, it is real. I'm not just making it up. And Alexa, yes, you're right. If you get your finger caught between two conkers, then it's like Oktoberfest with your finger, wrapping your finger around the Bierstein instead of on the handle, and you get clonked. And you definitely feel that. Oh, cool. Ross says he plays conkers as well up in Scotland. You soak them in vinegar to make them harder. Ah, that's the trick. That's the trick that we should have done it for sure. Oh, wow. Jeanette says, and you name the conker depending on how many times you've won with it. Like a 49er. Like, yeah, it's the victory conker. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so I want to show you the next thing that we're looking at here. And what we have here is we're going to see so many obelisks as we pass through this space. Let me just give you a quick round view as I start to tell you about this one particular obelisk, which is now right behind me, because it is the obelisk to the Great Fire, or the Theater Fire of 1876. And this was a Brooklyn theater fire that starts when a piece of the scenery at a local theater, housing 1,000 participants who are watching the show, as a piece of that scenery starts to catch fire. And if you think back to the old days of pre-electricity, right, before Thomas Edison's here and laying electric work, if you wanted light in a theater, there were only a couple of ways to do it. Well, you could have a chemical reaction using lime that would then be reflected, that kind of phosphorus reflected off of shiny material like bronze or brass, being in the limelight, so to say, as well as you could have braziers that would be, with open flames placed around a theater, and again reflecting the light from that fire up onto stage, so that way, you could actually see the actors as they are up on the stage. Now, in 1876, Kate Claxton, who was a famous American actress from the time, is up on stage, and one of the other actresses comes up to her and says, "Hey, look, I think there's a fire." Because I can hear the stagehands are talking about it in the back. And sure enough, they look and they see this part of the tapestry had come down and was on fire, and the stagehands were trying to get it down and move it. Just to answer Alexa's question real quick, what's the old-timey trolley there? It's a COVID not friendly trolley, which usually there'd be trolley tours here, but right now they're not running. So, well, the fire, is starting to get going, and the audience is starting to freak out. And the actors come up on stage and say, "Hey, listen, everyone be calm. It's all under control. We're not gonna freak out, but it's time for everyone to start slowly evacuating the theater." And as they opened up the side doors to let people start to leave, not expecting this, huge gust of air comes in to the theater as the side doors provide extra ventilation. And this then fans the flames. So the flames really burst out. This is when people start to panic. Now, almost everyone is able to find a way to escape, but the people who are up in the upper balcony only have one way in or out, one staircase. And they start to rush the staircase, someone trips, they fall, other people fall on top of them, there begins to be a crush, and within 30 minutes, the theater has collapsed. Now, they'd hoped originally that there weren't that many fatalities, but it turned out when they, pulled back the burnt building, that sure enough, that 278 of the 1,000 people who were at the theater that night had perished. And here in the space below this obelisk, you have 108 of those victims of the fire, whose bodies were so badly burned they were never able to identify them, or they didn't have money to be able to, their families didn't have money to be able to claim the bodies, to be able to then properly bury them. So this is a memorial space to those people. Yeah. Right, and it's a great view because we are up on the Gowanus Heights up here, which gives us this amazing view. Here we've got some memorial stones to the Burr family. You know what, let's go this way instead for right now. This is what I want to show you guys over here, I think, first. It is Aaron Burr's second cousin, actually, who's buried right there. Aaron Burr himself, from Hamilton fame, is buried over at the cemetery in Princeton, New Jersey, where he had attended university. So, yeah, Tage, yes, the bus is used still, but not right now because of COVID unfriendliness. So we can't see that at the very moment. Yeah, Alexa, definitely a recipe for disaster. Yeah, 108, Diana. It was a disaster. It wasn't the largest disaster that New York had seen by that time. The number one disaster still was the sinking of the General Slocum, that ship that had been holding those the early American German residents of the East Village. And unfortunately, there was a disaster there. And that was the largest disaster in New York history until we reach 9/11. Yeah. So, well, I'm going to take, this is the only way that I figured out how to get up here. So I'm just going to take a quick side, I'm going to kind of scale these walls here and just come up this path that I discovered, because I'm never going to remember the other way to get around. And it's like my workout day a little bit here as well. Whew. Okay, climb to the top. Catch my breath. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this really quick. It's actually, for all the obelisks that are here, this one here is part of an art installation from a French artist named Sophie Calle. And as you can see, what it says is, here lie the secrets of the visitors of Greenwood Cemetery. Now, we're visitors right now. The people that are entombed here, or interred here, if you will, some of them are entombed, some of them are interred. Well, they're all interred, but some of them are entombed. They are called permanent residents, right? So we are just visitors right now. And this art project is a 25-year-long commissioned art project, where 25 years after its installation, which was 2017, so we're looking at 2042, what they're going to do is they're going to go into this space down below, where right now, if we had a message, we could slip it down into this space. And I'm looking through and I can see that there are messages down inside there right now. Now you can't see it because of the light, but I can see bits of paper on there. And the idea is that after 25 years of collecting notes into this sealed, watertight space, they'll eventually take them out. And rather than reading them, they're going to simply burn them as part of a simple ritual, and have those secrets remain secrets and disappear. I just thought that's a really neat little aspect of this space, because the cemetery itself no longer sees itself as trying to make money off of burying people. Now, they still do bury people. There's a limited number of spaces for people to be buried, but as of 2009, the Greenwood Cemetery has seen itself more as a historical attraction, historical location, as well as a place for bird watchers and arborists. But specifically, it's not how they're trying to make their money. They do functions here, they have events throughout the summer, and we're going to hopefully be able to sneak into one of those event spaces if it's open later on. So it's pretty neat. Michelle says they should read them. Alexa says, I like that it's a sort of a time capsule, although a secret time capsule. Tage writes, secret door is a unique idea. Yeah, Diana Pomba also says it's a nice idea. Now, the guy that I'm walking up towards now here is a man who, if you know me at all by now, if you don't know me by now, well, if you know me by now, you know that I am a huge fan of this man because, well, he's so important for New York. This is none other than the great DeWitt Clinton. And DeWitt Clinton failed presidential attempt in 1812, but he was a senator from New York, he was a governor of New York, and he was mayor of New York. And during the time that he was mayor, he helped push for the building of defensive fortifications in New York Harbor. This is the guy who helps push for the building of these 4 forts as tensions start to rise with the British in 1810-11, leading up to the war of what we call the War of 1812. And he says, let's build these fortifications, and that way we can keep the Brits out of our harbor, because we know what happened in 1776. They whipped our butts. So better not to engage. And sure enough, it works. The British showed up in 1812. They looked at New York Harbor, now with these different fortifications, one on Governor's Island, one on what would be called Liberty Island later on, where the Statue of Liberty is, one down in the South Battery, which today is called Castle Clinton, and then another one called Fort Gansevoort, which is where the High Line was. We were there the other day. And they sail past, and instead they continue to Washington, D.C., where they go on to burn down the White House. So, DeWitt Clinton, hero of New York. But really, that wasn't the most heroic thing he ever did. The most important thing that he did was build the Erie Canal. And the Erie Canal extended the Hudson River all the way to Lake Erie. And this meant that if you wanted to ship something from Chicago to London, or from, what have you, Lisbon to Chicago, then the best way to do it was to go through New York, which meant you had to bring those big transatlantic seafaring ships, unload all their stuff, put them on boats that could head up the Hudson River and down the Erie Canal, and that just made a lot of sense for New York. A lot of money came into the city because of it. Became not just the trading or shipping center of the US, but it became very much the financial center of the US. Michelle asks, any relation to the other well-known Clintons? None, not at all. In fact, Bill Clinton was adopted. So there would be no blood relationship there anyway, because Clinton was not his original, heritage. But they're also not connected to this particular guy. Now, ironically, if DeWitt Clinton helped save New York, not just once, not just twice, he helped save this cemetery even after his death. Because in 1828, when DeWitt Clinton dies, he is a poor man, right? Which made him kind of a hero, because here you have this politician, this vastly successful politician, this guy who was one of the 3 main politicians for New York City. You had a guy by the name of Alexander Hamilton. Then you had another guy by the name of Aaron Burr. And then you had a third guy, right? DeWitt Clinton. They were the 3 leaders for New York. And when Aaron Burr fatally shoots Alexander Hamilton, means you got rid of Alexander Hamilton. He was no longer one of the main 3. And you got rid of Aaron Burr because Aaron Burr's career was pretty much done after that had taken place. The end result is DeWitt Clinton was the last guy there. So he was really, really popular in New York. I'm going to give you guys more cemetery as we walk to the next location, and also, hopefully, I'm going the right way. Originally buried up in Albany, because he dies a poor man, he's up there until the 1840s, when his son, Charles Clinton, DeWitt's son, is approached by the Greenwood Cemetery. And the Greenwood Cemetery has said, look, we've got a problem. Even with this beautiful rural idea of like an English garden sort of cemetery, we walk along and then we discover things as we go. People aren't moving here. People were not convinced yet that you should be out so far away from New York City. Now, the father of Henry Evelyn Pierpont, who was, is credited with really being the man that makes this space exist, right? And brings it kind of into existence. His father, whose name was Hezekiah, he was really one of the founders of Brooklyn. Until then, it wasn't really convenient for people living in Manhattan to like live in Brooklyn. But he gets the charter for Brooklyn to get it really started. And with that charter, in 1800, he creates a suburb on what would be known as Brooklyn Heights. And it becomes a commuter suburb for people heading back and forth. The Pierponts had teamed up with Robert Fulton, who was inventor of the steamship for commercial purposes, and that then allows them to start moving people and shuttling them back and forth. Yeah, I'm seeing I've got some lag. Sorry, guys. Gosh, I'm sure that this is the better of the two. This is the better of the two SIM cards, though. Nope, now my other SIM card is working great. It's so frustrating. I tested it out and walked around a bit to see which one of these SIM cards was going to be the better one, and I can see that this one is now the lagging one, where the other one was previously the lagging one. I don't know. All right, I can see that it's gone now again, so should be okay. Right, all right, so back to DeWitt Clinton. And basically what happens is that just like a fancy club in New York today, they realize if you want people to show up in your cemetery and make this their final resting place, then you really gotta bring an A-lister to show up. Oh, Tage, God, I'm never gonna learn, Tage. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I incredibly appreciate that, man. Awesome, thank you, brother. That goes to supporting more live streams like this and others by other guides. So much appreciated. So they get DeWitt in here. And DeWitt was a hero, like I said, because he was this great New York politician and he had died poor. And everyone was like, clearly he wasn't ripping people off, not like Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed, and those thieves. Like he must be a good guy because he had not died wealthy. And so he gets brought into the cemetery. And when he does, it really turns things up. And within 10 years, the cemetery is seeing 500,000 plus visitors a year, which is an incredible number, and making it this hugely successful tourist attraction. So I wanted to come and show you this as well, because this is the Van Ness Parsons Mausoleum. And inside the cemetery, we have three main types of architecture. We've got Gothic Revival, which is what that rubbered upjohn entranceway was. We're going to see a lot more of that as well. We've got Classical architecture, where we're going to see, columns, Ionic and Corinthian columns that'll make us think of ancient Rome. And then we also have Egyptian Revival, which is what this is here. And it was a style that became very popular. The gentleman who originally is buried here, Albert Ross Parsons, he was a pianist and a teacher at the Metropolitan Conservatory of Music. And he was also a passionate Egyptologist, hence why it ends up, this being the kind of the story here. And who do we have here? The idea is that we're looking at baby Moses. Over here, we got ourselves a Sphinx, and over here, it's supposed to be JC, Jesus Christ himself, with a little lamb in his hands. And he used to have a shepherd's staff kind of attached to his hand over here, but it is gone because unfortunately the Greenwood Cemetery also suffered a fair amount of vandalism from time to time, which meant that going into the 1970s, they kind of changed their model here, and they ended up closing down the cemetery to public visits. They didn't close it down, but they really made it a lot harder. It became a lot less welcoming, kind of like a fortress in many ways. So you didn't end up having the same sort of access. They've changed that back again now, so it's definitely designed to and for welcoming people into the space. But for a long time, that was simply just not the goal. Okay, I think I want to go back over in this direction. But I won't lie, I'm a little bit turned around suddenly, which is pretty early in our tour for me to be feeling a little bit lost. But I think let's head over this way. The good news is that no matter where we end up going right now, there's so much interesting stuff for us to see. So in the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, when this is a major tourist attraction, it would be very normal for people to have been coming in with their carriages, on their horses, and just walking around as well. They had their own police force here to help kind of separate out the. Wait, you know what, guys? I'm sorry. I do want to go this way. I apologize. That's my bad. That's me being a goofball. I had to go around and up this hill. So anyway, they had their own police force inside the space to separate people that were like mourning parishioners from regular tourists, regular travelers. And as we walk around, the goal of the cemetery is also for us to get a little lost. And I'll tell you what. Thank you, Hale. I'll tell you that right away. Thank you, Hale, for the super chat. Mwah. Much appreciated. Awesome. What I was going to say is, if their goal was to make sure that it was confusing and got people lost, it's incredibly effective. Mission accomplished, guys. Job well done building a very confusing cemetery. And it works, because as you come around a corner, suddenly it explodes and you see something. And I always think about it, because I did a lot of guiding in Europe for a while, as like the gardens around Potsdam outside of Berlin, which are designed to kind of like be an English garden, where you come around a corner and you see something just comes out of nowhere, and then you wiggle down paths and paths until you see something else new. Versailles, a French garden where it's all laid out, very beautiful, you know exactly where you're going, you enjoy the vistas the entire time. Whereas here, it's designed specifically so when you come around a corner, you see something new that you had not necessarily been expecting. Now, if you hear I'm a little out of breath, it's good. It's because I'm working hard for you, but also because I'm walking uphill. Now, something worth pointing out really quick is this statue up here, because you basically have you only have a couple of different iterations of, like, you have angels all over the place throughout the memorial space, but then you also have ladies who stand guards almost over different spaces, and they're broken into faith and charity, and finally hope. And each of them is kind of depicted in a slightly different way. So if we've got faith, charity, and hope, go ahead and tell me in the chat, what do you guys think this woman is representing here? Is she faith, charity, or hope? And then I'll tell you which one's right. And in the meantime, why don't I just show you a little bit about this guy here. So this memorial space here is to Gordon W. Burnham. And yes, Diana with the first answer there, already beating everyone else to the punch. This woman is indeed representing faith. That's what that Bible and that crucifix in her hand is telling us right there. Charity is, thank you Tage for the guess. Hope is actually a really easy one always to tell, because hope, and we'll find a hope statue later on, hope is almost always depicted along with an anchor, right? Kind of you on a long sea voyage, you hope you will make anchor again, I guess, is the reference there. And then finally, charity will be depicted with, like a wreath or grapes or some fruit, something that you can see and understand is going to be given. So this statue is sculpted specifically by a guy by the name of Moffat. I can't remember his first name, but Moffat was a semi-famous sculptor from that period of time, and a lot of the same sculptors and architects are used again and again throughout the memorial site. But Burnham himself was a gentleman who made copper wire, and he made a fortune making copper wire because, it was soon after he was producing all this copper wire that suddenly a guy by the name of Thomas Edison showed up and said, "Hey, I got an idea of what you can do with all that copper wire. Why don't we electrify the city and turn the lights on?" So that's Burnham, copper wire man, teams up with Thomas Edison. And when you walk around this space, it's hard not to feel like it's really a who's who of New York celebs. Because once they got DeWitt Clinton up here and reinterred him, everyone wanted to be buried in the same cemetery as DeWitt Clinton. And then, of course, with all the famous people coming here, you could never hobnob with the rich and famous when they were alive, but you could come and hobnob with them once they were dead. So, of course, it becomes a major tourist attraction. Now, what I'm showing you guys here right now is the Civil War memorial to the fighters from New York City who fought, of course, to preserve the Union. And the irony here a little bit is that when this monument is built, it's built here in Brooklyn, which is a separate city, which is not the city of New York, although this is, the memorial to the New York fighters. And you had 148,000 New York soldiers. Oh, Diana reaching out from Mexico City. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Really appreciate it. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So this memorial already being considered as early as 1866. The war only ended in 1865, and already they were trying to figure out they'd already figured out to leave land set aside so that way they could build this monument here inside of the space. It's built to the 148,000 New York fighters, of which about a third of them will die in combat. Another third of them will die from secondary causes, like illnesses, like camp illnesses, cholera and yellow fever outbreaks and things like, I guess it wasn't really yellow fever, but cholera, dysentery, things like this. And then the last third of the New York soldiers, they'll actually end up making their way back again, either to New York or, the irony of it is that a lot of the soldiers that New York sent down to fight in the war, they were not really New Yorkers yet. They'd only been in New York for maybe a few minutes before some of them were offloaded off of ships coming from Ireland and then given a hot meal and their commission and put back on a ship headed towards the front. So at the end of the war, many of those quote unquote New Yorkers just stayed where they were down in the South and never came back again. So land set aside first in 1866, and this was built in 1876, just 10 years later. And you can kind of get a feeling of the view that they were aiming to give to these soldiers as they would look back across the East River. And you can see, if these trees weren't here and these buildings weren't here, you can see that New York was starting to build there in the distance. So here we are in this middle of this 478-acre plot of cemetery, and yet we're still able to, at moments, have that English garden escape upwards and outwards from the Gowanus Heights to look out across the Manhattan skyline over there. So really, really really special and beautiful. Well, we were just talking about the Civil War, but why don't we talk about another war? Why don't we talk about the American Revolutionary War? Because these Gowanus Heights are also part of the reason why Washington will choose this space as one of the defensive positions for the American Revolutionary forces to defend Brooklyn Heights, which are to the north of us right now, and has the vantage point that if you caught my city bike mishap tour the other day, a quick pop-up, the advantage of the Brooklyn Heights was that you could fire cannons directly into Manhattan if you needed to. So, wow, you know, like you got to protect those. So Washington had set up his troops along this line to be able to stop the advance of the British forces. Now, I'm not going to go into deep views or a deep time of discussing the Battle of Long Island, but it's worth us spending just a couple of minutes on it because, of course, we also have a crossover in that we have a little mausoleum here to a gentleman by the name of Higgins. And Higgins's great contribution was that he had invented a new formula for India ink. In fact, you can still go to like some shops and stores and still find India ink, Higgins India ink. And this new formulation made him incredibly wealthy. I'm looking through, it says virtue and immortality, but now the soul plainly appears to be immortal. There is no release or salvation from evil except attainment of the highest virtue and wisdom. Well, Higgins was also a big fan of history, and he had founded the Long Island Historical Society, and through his research had discovered that, of course, this often not spoken about Battle of Brooklyn, or Battle of Long Island as it was originally called, had happened up here on the Gowanus Heights. So he ends up setting up his mausoleum to be here, as well as commissioning this statue of Minerva. Minerva, who would by later times, the Roman goddess Minerva would kind of end up mixing together with Athena. She's not the goddess of war. That would have been Mars. What Minerva was a goddess of wisdom, but also defensive battle, defensive war. So she was a warrior as well, but she was not on the attacking side. Minerva was on the defending side. And she also was the patron of many other things. So you can imagine, and I wish you guys were with me here so you could feel it along with me at the same time, but this is where Lord Stirling, who was a Scottish pseudo-nobleman, I mean, he had been granted his lordship after his father, the Earl of Stirling, had passed. Then the Scottish courts actually take it away from him. Lord Stirling never agrees, but he sets up his troops here along this line. I mean, this was literally, I'm walking along the pickets of where the American forces would have been. And they had their troops pushed all the way down this hill, this rolling hill, to make it hard for the British forces to advance. They would have been coming from this direction, okay? And behind us right now, you have Brooklyn Heights in the distance. Now, after the siege of Boston drives the British out of Boston, Washington moves his troops down from Boston and sets them up here in New York to await what he expects to be the British eventually showing up here. And sure enough, that siege had ended in March of 1776. By August of 1776, the Brits have arrived and are offloading tens of thousands of troops onto Staten Island, which was sparsely populated, easy for them to take, and they use that as their setting off point. And in August, by August 26th, the British have already been ferrying troops across the Narrows to a position in what is Long Island or South Brooklyn. And good morning, Jill, welcome. And they are marching in this direction. Now, the British troops at this time, they were the creme de la creme. They were the best fighting force the world knew, and the largest fighting force that the world knew. They were bad A's, like seriously. And they were able to get off 4 volleys of shot while the American counterparts would only maybe fire one time in that same period of like a minute or so. So let's say the Brits could fire 4 repeated times in a minute because they were that well trained. And they started to advance towards the American pickets here. And what they were doing was they would have a regiment march up and fire and then just step back and retreat or return to their original position, as another regiment would step up and then fire and then retreat, fire, retreat, reload, fire, retreat, reload. And that happened again and again. And guess what? Lord Stirling's up here with his troops and he's thinking, this is going really well. We are getting them to suffer like major casualties. They're really struggling right now. But little did he know that throughout the night there were 4 passes to get through the Gowanus Heights up here. And one of them was the Jamaica Pass. And of the other 3 passes, they were defended by hundreds of troops, the main force being here. This is where we thought they were going to come through. But the Jamaica Pass, a loyalist, someone still loyal to King George III and the British, had told, even though they were living in the colonies, had told the British that there was this other poorly defended pass. It only had 5 officers, 5 militiamen officers on horseback, and them thinking that the approaching forces coming towards them on the Jamaica Pass were actually American soldiers. They go up and say, hey, what's going on, guys? How's it hanging? What's the good news? Uh-oh, turns out they were British. They're captured, never able to sound the alarm that the Brits had been marching through a night march, 10,000 soldiers around this position where Lord Stirling had his pickets set up. And it's not until later that day that finally, after a few hours of this exchanging of volleys where the British are suffering so badly, that Lord Pickett hears these signal cannon fires that tell the British troops mixed with German Hessian mercenaries that now is the moment. They're in a pincer move, and the American troops are stuck with the advancing, highly trained forces in front of them, and cannon fire, and another 10,000 soldiers pushing up behind them. The American poorly trained troops and poorly led, in most cases, troops start to break rank. The ones that were down this hill start to run. They're heading back towards Brooklyn Heights. But it's here, in this space, that what will come to be known as the Maryland 400. They were only around 260 to 270 men, but go figure, right? Because they did such an incredible job, they must be even more than that. The Maryland 400, they stand their ground here, allowing the other troops in a hasty retreat, maybe even a bit of a rout, to escape. The Maryland 400, or like I said, those 270 men, we know that it didn't go well for them. Because finally, after they held their position here as long as they could, they retreated back in this direction to a clearing where they are slaughtered by another group of 10,000 Hessians. Only 6 men survive of the almost 300. Only 6. 5 of them officers, 1 private. And those officers are then traded, including Lord Stirling himself, who is taken prisoner by the British. And Washington, watching from Brooklyn Heights in the distance, sees this last standoff, and he says something to the effect of, heavens forbid, such brave men I lose today. And it's true. And this is where that went down. So, and hence we've got our altar to liberty, right? Because with liberty and freedom comes also great sacrifice. So thank you, Minerva, for being there. And thank you, Lorraine Musha, for my super sticker. I am very grateful. Thank you for that. And thank you, Shannon, for the storytelling compliment. It's easy to tell great stories when the history does it for you. It's just fascinating, to be part of it. So I'm really excited to be here. All right, let me see where I am again. Let you guys keep watching. And oh my gosh, I have gotten nowhere in my tour yet. And I'm already at 42 minutes. How is this possible? Ah. All right, we gotta beeline it. We gotta beeline it. We gotta get moving. There's just so much history in this space. So much storytelling to be done. I'm gonna make a quick cut here. Because there's just some stuff I cannot not show you guys. Oh, the birds are so chirpy right now. nice little, I was thinking about taking you guys over to see Charles Ebbets' grave. Kristen, I thank you for that suggestion. Christian just said maybe we do a part 2 after a short break, and I don't think I'm going to do that this time because I really do believe in you guys who are here. Well, look, if I really respect you guys needing to have your own time, you know, and I don't want to steal your Sundays, but I do want to spend time with you and show you stuff. But there's a balance of it. I don't know, we'll think about it. I wanted to show you this tree stump really quick because it's part of the strategy of the cemetery, that when they do have to cut down a tree, unfortunately, they leave the stump here, whether it's like a tall stump like this or a shorter stump. We'll see some as we go. And they did a test on it, and it turns out that over like the 30 years that the stump takes to biodegrade, that it ends up providing a lot of food for bugs. And then the bugs in turn provide food for the birds, and creates a neat little ecosystem here. So here's just another little stubby stub over there. Stumpy stump. Whenever I see stumps like this, it always makes me think of that Shel Silverstein book, The Giving Tree, which, although maybe not as famous as Where the Sidewalk Ends and some of those other ones, I really love it. I think it's such a great story, The Giving Tree. So if you haven't read that one to your kids, then get on it. Definitely one to talk about. All right. I'm going to be quiet for a second and just figure out, oh no, wait. No, we're running low on time. We're not going to do that. Sorry for the back and forth. I wanted to show you guys Leonard Bernstein's gravestone really quick, but that's going to be on the second take for sure. You know, there's not much to see at Leonard Bernstein's memorial space because on purpose it's a very understated little location. So yeah, you guys talk about ghosts, and it's ironic, like being here in the day. They also do like night tours here, and there's like a lot of people that will not come to this. They will not come and visit at night, or even come close to this entire space because of the potential for ghosties. Although I don't have any great ghost stories right now for you. Check over there, or do we go over here? Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Oh, sorry, thank you, Shannon, for the lagging. Thank you for letting me know. Here's a good example of Hope, although it looks like part of her anchor has been destroyed. But you can see she was holding on, there's a little anchor there, although I'm also getting some lag. Sorry about the lag, guys. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna check my other phone too and just see. Did it also have a lag message right now? Nah, wouldn't have been great. Oh, cemetery. Why don't they build towers in cemeteries? What do I... Oh. I'm still getting lag signals. Come on, internet connection, get stable. All right, my message for lag has stopped, which means I think we are back in business. Which means I can show. Well, I think that we were really laggy there for a bit, but maybe things have gotten a little bit better now. I just wanted to talk about l'Oise, the bear, which is a memorial to the painter William Holbrook Beard, from a sculptor. Yeah, hopefully it's looking better now. I'm showing that back to you guys. This was an unmarked grave for the longest period of time. And then Dan Ostermiller in 2001 donated this statue and the money needed for this gravesite space to this once very famous American painter who is famous for this picture. Some of you guys may or may not recognize. Let's make it a little bigger. And this is the famous picture of the bulls and the bears fighting on Wall Street in front of the New York Stock Exchange. And Beard was the artist who did it. So he had an unmarked grave, and another famous recent artist said, "Oh, that's not right. Let's give him something more permanent in recognition of his great painting." So there is that. And I actually haven't been over on this side yet. There's another statue over here that I want to show you guys as well. Whoop. Real quick. Should be over here. Oh, gosh darn it. This section is giving me lag notifications. I'm just going to beeline to where I want to end the tour, and hopefully I checked there. They had good connection there. Yeah, I really did walk through this entire space to make sure that we weren't going to have laggy lag issues like we're having right now. Not pumped, not at all happy with it. But you know what? I will end up posting this video for us later on, so we'll be able to still see it despite the fact that we are getting a little bit of unstable internet connection, which means that I'm probably talking to myself right now, but it's not the first time. Yeah, both my phones now are not showing great signal. We're gonna do the best that we can, and hopefully I get a little elevation. In a moment, I can tell you one or two more great stories, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with me right now, despite there being a not terribly stable internet connection. You are the most patient. You are the most beautiful. You are true heroes of live streaming. And if I was here by myself, I'd stop right now. But I know that in a second I'm going to reconnect. And when I do reconnect, we're gonna be together again. Together again. We're gonna be together again. You and me, when this lagging is gone. I'll sing on my song. Oh, lagging ghost, you gotta go away. Oh, lagging ghost, you gotta go away. You gotta go and lag somebody else today. I don't want no ghost in my machine. Gotta keep my inner cog work so clean. I don't want you to disappear, but I can't tell the people this history clear if this lagging ghost is gonna be in my way. Lagging ghost, just get out of here. Lagging ghost, this much is clear. There's too much beauty here for you to spoil. I'm not gonna let you be my historic foil. Oh, lagging ghost, let me tell you a story. Oh, lagging ghost, you ain't no morning glory. Why has it said internet connection unstable for this much time? I think this ghost is drinking my bandwidth wine. Oh wow, this is tough. This is tough. All right, now no joke. Ghost, be gone. Ghost, be gone. This is it. This is, I need you to be gone. Ghost, 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 be gone. Please, ghost, give me back internet bandwidth. If there's ever a time that I need it, it's now. I need my bandwidth back. And I promise I'll do something that'll make you happy. You want me to steal babies? I can't do that. I can't steal babies. I can't do that. No? All right, ghost. I don't know what you really want, but baby theft is out of the question. Are you guys with me? Do I have signal? I'm trying to gain elevation. Oh, Michaela, vielen, vielen Dank dafür. Aber es ist mir wirklich schuldig. Ich meine, ich habe das Gefühl, das hat das überhaupt nicht gelohnt. Jetzt habt ihr keine Verbindung mehr mit mir und das ist doch Schrott. Ja. If you guys are still getting lag right now, let me know. And if so, I think the lag might be gone. I think I might have just beaten it. Okay. Okay, Tage, thank you. All right, great. This is my hand moving back and forth, not lagging. Okay, good. So you guys probably didn't hear my Ghost Be Gone, Lag No More song. Oh no, I shouldn't have said anything. Oh, now it's back. Okay, I get a little message on my screen that says you're lagging, like as well, but I don't know if it's real or it's not real. So it's kind of like what it is. So I'm going to give you guys one more story here, and then we're going to call it a day. And I'm going to put this up on the internet so you have the whole Lagging Ghost song. And Michaela, I don't know if you heard me before, but thank you when you made your super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for that over on you YouTubers. And I know, right, Diana? Like Diana Pumbo, it's don't move. And I'm just trying to like get that spot. Maybe it's this airplane that just went overhead. Is it possible that airplanes mess with my data connection? I'm not sure. All right. Oh no. Okay. Thanks, Shannon, for the heads up. You heard some of that song? Uh-oh. Well, I promise I'm not going to get any copyright infringement problems on that. It was a Sandeman original. So I want to show, I'm going to try to stand here. Bye, Diana. Sorry for the lag. Thank you for being here. I just want to show you guys this little mausoleum space here. And it is none other than Charlotte Canda's final resting place. So let's just get up here, and for those of you who still have connection with me, you have it. For those of you who've lost it because of lag, you're going to have this video posted, so you're going to be able to still watch this later on. And we'll just talk really quick about 17-year-old Charlotte Canda. Now Charlotte's aunt had recently passed away. Bye, Hale. Thanks for checking in. Hail Jim in that world. And Charlotte Canda, at 17 years old, she was engaged to be married. Her father, actually, Charles Canda, Charles Canda, was actually an officer in the Napoleonic armies. And they end up emigrating to the US. And Charlotte's engaged to a French nobleman, and sure enough, she, is very happy. Life is good. It's 1845, and she goes to a party with her dad and a good friend. And they enjoy the party, and at the end of the party, they head home. And as they are headed home, Dad stops the carriage to escort just saw a cardinal go by, to escort Charlotte's friend into her house. And as that happens, the driver of the carriage also steps off of the carriage for a second. And now it's just Charlotte in the back of the carriage by herself, and there's a storm, and the horses are startled. They're spooked by this ghost. And they run around towards the end of the street, where they turn the corner fast. The carriage flips. Charlotte is thrown out of the carriage. She smashes her head against something, and her father runs after to hold his daughter as she expires in his arms. In fact, it was her 17th birthday. So she had been, at the same time, she'd been designing a memorial designing a final memorial space for her aunt, her father's sister, who had recently passed. Father finds these notes and ends up using them to design actually Charlotte's own memorial space, which is this one right here. Now, as we get a little bit closer, why don't I just sneak up here and just show you guys some of the inner workings inside of this space. You can see around her head, she's wearing a wreath of roses, 17 of them, in fact. You have this star floating up to the side, showing kind of like her immortality. The fleur de lis is heavily pictured inside because of the French heritage. And then you've got Charles Canda, Charlotte Canda, Adele Canda. This is actually the mausoleum space with the sarcophagus, where the rest of the Candas are all buried inside. So the space itself is 17 feet tall, and from left to right, it's also 17 feet wide. Finally, over here, you have the last little kind of sad note of the story as we come towards the end here, but just to show the kind of immortal love of it all, here's the coat of arms of her fiancé. Charles Albert Géret de la Marie, French nobleman, right, was going to be married to Charlotte, and within a year of her death, he's so distraught that unfortunately Charles Albert Jaret de la Marée takes his own life. Charlotte, being Catholic, had this ground consecrated here. And if you can see, there's Charlotte's grave. There's her fiancé's grave, because the consecrated ground ends right along here. So he's buried off of consecrated ground. Even though this whole graveyard is not for any one religion, it's non-sectarian in that way, this was consecrated Catholic ground. Now, it's also kind of interesting to look at this building behind it, because this building, or this mausoleum, built in 1875, some 30 years after Charlotte's death, has nothing whatsoever to do with Charlotte Canda. It's not a Canda-related memorial or mausoleum. What it is, however, from this gentleman Dewey, was by this point already, by 1875, this memorial space where Charlotte Canda was buried was already one of the most visited memorials or grave sites inside of Greenwood Cemetery. And Dewey wanted to be famous too. So he bought the space up right behind Charlotte's grave, so that way people would come and visit her, would also see him rising up behind it. So it's both a grave site and a tourism attraction in that way. Okay, well, look, I still show that I have an unstable internet connection. This is super frustrating and sort of sad. I'm going to start walking my way back out of the graveyard now and gaining some elevation. And when I have a stable location again, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, so that way you can head off, because we've now reached my hour-plus marker. And for those who've been struggling to try to stay together with a poor internet connection, yeah. Thank you for that feedback, Shannon. That tells me a lot what's going on. Hi there. Just gonna keep on gaining elevation. Just gonna walk up the hill. And with the expectations that this is going to be a video that people are going to be able to watch later on without the lag once it's uploaded. Let's just get ourselves, this is very pretty. Let's just get ourselves up the hill. And now we know. Now we know that T-Mobile nor AT&T have good service inside of this cemetery. Thank you guys for the lag comments. I'm getting my butt up, and away. Let's get up a hill. Oh! I'm going with the understanding that with elevation, I should be able to reach. Whew. Elevation should have let me reach more towers. Whew. Walking straight up a hill. Okay. Sorry, buddies. I'm climbing over you right now. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I gained some elevation. It's schwitzy here. We're gonna hit 95 degrees in New York, which is not the least humid of cities. So we're looking at like 33, 34 degrees Celsius for you folks over there. So here we are. Elevation does seem to have helped. All right. Well, why don't we not end on that last story? Instead, I'm going to end on one last final story right here, which is, it's hard to come to graveyards and find stories that are specifically super uplifting, because there is a purpose why people tend to, a purpose for why people tend to come to cemeteries after they're dead. There's a connection there. This particular monument here, which we're gonna now end with, because I feel like I didn't really give you guys the Charlotte one properly, because we couldn't really hear right there. This is the story of Freeborn, and Freeborn was a ship's pilot in the New York Harbor, and during a terrible storm, his package ship, the package ship that he was on and piloting, only 300 yards off of the coast of New Jersey, on the other side of the Hudson River, it ends up foundering, and it starts to go down. Now, only 300 yards offshore meant that people onshore had gathered and were waiting to try to rescue the crew. But unfortunately, with the heavy storm prohibiting them from being able to get off of the ship, and for people to row out and rescue them, the 90 people on the package ship, including the captain, Freeborn, lose their lives. And they, frozen bodies start to wash to shore, even as people are there waiting, still trying to rescue them, because people are just pulled off the ship and thrown into the water, and eventually will wash up. Now, this memorial that you see here is not from the Freeborn family. It's actually raised by other ship's pilots who, in New York Harbor, say, well, one of our own has passed, and they set up this space so that way you could look straight back out again into New York Harbor. Now, these trees that we see in front of us wouldn't have been here back in those days, so you can almost get a feeling of it looking in the distance. If that, once again, is Manhattan over there, you could see down into New York Harbor, and you can actually see parts of it. I might just step out of the way of this tree here without losing signal for you guys. Yeah, there you go, New York Harbor over there. So the final resting place for Captain Freeborn gave him a view back into the harbor where the other ship's pilots would continue to work, and he'd be able to watch that work continuing to go. That was the idea. So, all right, that's it. We just hit like an hour and 10 minutes or so. Thank you guys so much. Really apologize for the lag that we experienced there. I will be very quickly returning home to post this entire video, and this video that we've just done together will be called Uncut. Those are the uncut videos. It's even if there was lag in there and there was a mess in there, it's just like that is the straight out video. And then I'll post the edited version, which cuts off the initial kind of 5-10 minutes of hello, as well as fix any sections where there's really just crappy, terrible lag, which I have to cut out, if that was the case. Although with the HD version of this video, you should have the whole thing to be able to watch, and skip to the part that was laggy to be able to watch that again, to learn the great story of Charlotte Canda. Mwah! Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for putting up with some of my rambling as we go. I've learned an incredible amount about Greenwood Cemetery in the last bit of time. We'll definitely want to come back here again. I need to show you the Pierpont burial space to Henry Evelyn Pierpont, who was the driving force behind us even having Greenwood Cemetery. It's he that went around to all the local churches and bought up their old church grounds, convincing them that they needed to go someplace else because of the expansion. It was he that was in charge of the planning commission and made sure that no streets were planned in Brooklyn to go through this section, not telling anyone that he was planning to have a cemetery here, just we're going to build the roads in a different place. Meanwhile, always in the back of his head, we need to have a big cemetery here, like he'd seen on his travels around Europe, to be able to put Brooklyn even more on the map than his father and mother, Maria Evelyn Pierpont, who was the matriarch of the family. We'll go and we'll visit that space. We're going to go and we're going to visit the chapel here. We're going to see so much other great stuff. So thank you very, very much. Michaela, thank you. Shannon, thank you. Rebecca, thank you. Alexa, really appreciate you always showing up and being here. Tage, brother, couldn't do it without you. Really appreciate it. Guys, have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. No matter if it's already Monday. Lorraine says there's no sound now. You gotta be kidding me. I got mic on. I don't know. maybe you hit mute, Lorraine. Who knows? But hopefully you guys will see all that. Yes, Kristen, I'll get a selfie at the gate for sure. And if you can't see, really, there's no sound. Does anyone else have no sound? Or is it just Lorraine? Okay, good. Kristen's still here. Bye, Ross. Thanks for showing up. Sorry not to get as much in as I wanted to. There's so much to see here. You guys all have to come to New York, and we're going to go do a tour together. Thank you, Tage, letting me know. Michaela, danke sehr. Okay, ich dachte, das wahrscheinlich, ne, Lorraine war, die können uns nicht hören, so, war so. Juti, dann, ciao, guys. Enjoy. Have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you in the week for some pop-ups. And next weekend, we're going to have a lot of things planned because we're opening up our tours again in multiple places. So it's there's just a lot going on. But I was dealing with my 25-year reunion this week, which also stopped me from having so much content as I would have liked to have had. But we're going to have a lot more content next weekend. We're going to be in Moscow for the first time. We're going to hopefully get back to Buenos Aires, although they're under lockdown right now. There's just a lot of stuff coming up. So thank you guys very much. I'll give you a small little bow. Thank you very much. I hear your applause. Kristen, unnecessary, but very grateful for the super sticker. Very much appreciate that. And it helped pay for my electronic bike back across the river as I take an e-bike back across the Manhattan Bridge to get my butt back to Manhattan. Thank you, Tage. Have a great, wonderful day. Really appreciate it, guys. And I'm just going to go silent for a couple of minutes and just give you guys in this high bandwidth zone just a minute of saying goodbye to the cemetery without any more of me talking. And with that, I say goodbye. I'm going to leave you with one last final thought, and it comes from actually one of the folks that worked on the first such cemetery as this in the US, which Greenwood was actually the third of three of these kind of outdoor rural cemeteries. The first one was Mount Auburn, actually, in Boston. The second one was Laurel Hill in Philadelphia. Mount Auburn was in 1831, Laurel Hill was in 1836. This one then in 1838. And I was listening to a report made by one of the Mount Auburn workers, and preservationists. And he suggested that you should not look at cemeteries as being outdoor museums, but you should look at museums as being indoor cemeteries. Because before there were widespread museums, if you wanted to come and you wanted to see sculptures, you wanted to see, the sort of design work that we see around this cemetery today, well, you couldn't go to a museum to see it in this breadth and this grandeur. You came to a cemetery to see it. Museums are indoor cemeteries. So cherish our cemeteries, because it's the first place that we were able to really, see these things and learn about this history. And Greenwood Cemetery is no exception. It's waiting for us all sooner or later. Diana Garrity, thank you very, very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, Diana. Sorry not to acknowledge it right away. Thank you. I'm grateful, guys. I'm grateful for the super chats. I'm grateful for your support. And I'll see you again really soon. Don't hesitate to make suggestions as other things that you would like us to go explore together as a community here in New York and the surrounding area. I'm very much in the steady mode to be able to digest information and be able to share it, because gosh, New York's got a ton of stories to share. So thanks again, guys. Have a great, wonderful weekend still, okay? I'll see you soon. Won't be long. Bye.